Yes, sir.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. I am your host, Hondo Carpenter, joined by my assistant beat writer, the man, the myth, the legend, Zeke Trezevant in the house with me. How you doing, Zeke?
Hondo, man, doing well, excited, man, especially coming off, Monday. So doing real well. How about yourself?
Hey, I got to tell you what, I'm doing fantastic. As you know, Saturday, we're one day away from game day. Yesterday, I was in Paw Patrol. I had to go to the Paw Patrol movie, Zeke.
How'd you like it?
I love being a dad.
There you go. Yes, sir. My
I,
son, my son loves Paw Patrol.
oh, you know, yeah. Dexter's 14 months old, man. And if there's food, popcorn, candy, and Paw Patrol, he's a happy guy. All right.
Yes, sir.
Um, I wish they'd come out with Paw Patrol football version.
Yeah, that would be great for a lot of us.
Yeah, someone told me that I think it's Disney Channel or somebody's doing like Monday Night Football with Disney characters. I want somebody to do Monday Night Football with Paw Patrol.
Listen, that's a whole other area that we should look into.
No, no, it's not, Zeke. Don't go there.
Don't do
All
it.
right, let's dig in on the Raiders and talk about them. I gave a big detail on Friday morning about what they would be looking for in a trade with a D and all that. And we've gone over all those details, but I want to talk about attack, attack, attack. You and I have been around, me more than you, but been around Josh McDaniels a lot. Um, there's no doubt the man knows football. I mean, there is no doubt. I mean, the NFL, people around the NFL who've won Super Bowls and are highly respected called him an offensive genius. You don't get that respect by being dumb. No one is implying nor saying that about Josh. But I talked about it yesterday, and sometimes I think there's paralysis by analysis and he overthinks. And not because he's sitting there thinking, I want everyone to think I'm the smartest guy in the world. No, I just think he knows so much he overthinks it. Agree or disagree?
Listen. That's been the case really all season. I think if you go back, probably even to week one, you can go to every game. There's been a situation where it's like, what happened? Where it's almost like his mind glitched or something. And I think that's part of the frustration with Josh is it's not that he doesn't have the tools. Everyone knows that he's an offensive guru, and that's the frustration is that they know the talent is there. They know that he can coach. And for the offense to still be struggling with him at the helm, it's actually a sign of respect. It's actually a sign of, hey, we know you know what you're doing. Why is the offense struggling so bad? Now, to your point, the man is a guru. He does have a lot of information up there after years and years of coaching. I believe you alluded to his father being a great coach, a respected coach as well. So you can only imagine how much stuff he has going on in his head at one time. So I think that does kind of, and he's a very analytical guy. So I think sometimes that kind of plays a part in what he does and what he doesn't do. And then I think there comes times where the analytics, he will think it all the way up to the top of what the analytics says he should do, and he'll get there and do the opposite. And it's kind of like what's going on. But no one thinks anything but the world of Josh and what he can do in terms of offensive play calls, offensive coaching. But he just has to put it together.
And you and I are in the locker room, and I know that fans don't get our purview, but when a player knows how to make it clear when he maybe doesn't believe something and he's just towing the company line. He'll look down, he'll just kind of be like,
Body language.
oh. And then we also talk to them off the record when they tell us other things. This is the thing that I know makes Raider Nation mad. Is they think, all right, everybody's quit on them. They
Yeah.
haven't.
How about
No,
that? That's not the case.
no. And now I do think they're questioning him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I was telling people after the game on Monday night, and it may have been Monday night, it may have been Tuesday morning, but I'm getting texts from guys, three guys in particular, how happy they were for Josh. If you're happy after a win for Josh, you haven't quit on that guy.
100%.
And but I think there's a lot of,
Yeah.
what are you thinking?
So I think that is the case. Well, let's start here. They have, without a doubt, they have not quit on him. I think with your experience and my experience as well, it's very obvious when a team is quit on a coach. I think if you want to give an example, I think the Denver Broncos are probably about a game or two away from that happening, right? There's no question when a team quits on a coach. It's very, very clear. The Raiders are not there yet. I think the players wish the best for Josh, but I think what's happened is that a lot of the stars on the team, a lot of the elder statesmen on the team, they don't, I mean, like Davante said, they don't have time to wait, right? So at the end of the day, they're looking around like, hey, we got to get this turned around soon. We don't want to wait till week 8, week 10, week 12. Let's get this taken care of now. So I don't think there's anybody that has quit on them in the locker room. I think they all just want the same thing, right? I think that's where frustration comes a lot of times. When we all want the same thing, it's not happening for us how we want it to, and that can kind of come across a certain kind of way. But they are far from quit on them. And I think, hey, you go out here and win on Sunday, you're right back at 500, and it's anybody's ball game at that point.
So Zeke, you wrote an article on Thursday that I thought was brilliant. As a matter of fact, it was our featured article on the site. Brilliant article about Maxx Crosby and his quest to be great. It is one thing for a person to say, I want to be great. It's another for them to put the effort in to be great. Maxx is doing that. And to me, now, I consider Maxx a friend. So he's not only just a guy I cover, I consider him a friend. To me, I have had the privilege of watching Kobe Bryant up close, Michael Jordan up close, and Irvin Magic Johnson a ton up close. Draymond Green, same thing. One thing that the four of them all have was a work ethic. I mean, it's like with Draymond. He gets mad at a teammate and everybody sees it, but he's mad at the teammate telling him basically, if you're not going to give 110%, don't be on this bench.
Yeah.
If you're just playing to leave at the end of the year and you don't want to get hurt, get out.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the great ones have, it's not the desire to win. It's not the will to win. It is the willingness to prepare and to work to win. Maxx has it. He's got that Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Irvin Johnson, Draymond Green work ethic. I know those guys are all basketball. There are some football guys with that, but he's got it. He's the real deal. Discuss your article, by the way. What a great job you did.
Listen, I appreciate it, and just listen. I played a lot of football up and through high school, and I've always told you an undersized defensive end. So to say that, I say that to say that I have nothing
really undersized,
really like tiny, ridiculous. So I say it to say that when I see what Maxx Crosby is doing, I just admire it. I admire it. You got to think about his size, and you talked about his work ethic, right? Another word I would use is his motor. Maxx Crosby is going 110% first quarter through fourth quarter. I don't see him take any plays off. And that is very hard to do, especially on the defensive line. And again, we spoke about it in the article. He prepares all offseason. I believe he said he started January 30th, if I'm not mistaken. Few players put in that kind of work around the clock. And what you see with Maxx is by the time training camp starts, he's already in the thick of things. He's not using training camp to get ready. He's already ready by the time training camp starts. But again, his motor is something that I just admire. And you got to think about his size. Think about, not only to keep that motor going for 4 quarters, but at his size and at that speed. One thing I'll also say is this, is I honestly believe Maxx, and I said this to him in the preseason, I feel like he got better. And that was in training camp. I could see that he took the next, you could see he took the next step. And what I like about him and where he's at now is he's influencing other people on the team. He's making the other players bring their 100% on the offense and the defense. For instance, that first play of Mayer's career in practice when Maxx just completely pummeled him. That's a leadership.
You and I were standing together. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We were like,
that is leadership, right? I'm sure Michael Mayer knew who Maxx Crosby was before that play, right? But at the end of the day, Maxx was still trying to get something across to the offense and the defense of, hey, we're going to bring it. So Maxx is taking it to another level, and if he is able, by any chance, to take it to another level, look out. I mean, he's hit that point where when you start naming defensive ends, defensive linemen, you can't put. I don't know how many more people you can really put in front of Maxx, honestly. So he's starting to hit that level where he's elite for sure.
On tomorrow's pregame podcast, John Schopp and I are going to discuss him. And, John was talking about him potentially in his prime. And I told him, I don't even think he's in his prime yet. I think he's still getting better. I think he's in search of his prime.
Yes.
And I already think he's the best defensive end in the NFL. I just think if he was on a better team, he would get more
100%.
attention. J.J. Watt, I don't know if you heard it, but J.J. Watt on Pat McAfee's show earlier this week just went off about how good Max is. And I agree with J.J. all the way. All right, let's talk about this football game. I got into it a lot yesterday on my Friday podcast, but to me, this is the biggest game for Josh McDaniels. And I know there'll be big ones down the road if he wins, but we will point back to this game as the biggest of the season. And I'm going to tell you why. There are so many connections between the Raiders and Patriots, and I know that Raider fan hates to hear it, but it's true. It's the reality. With them as bad as they are, and they're terrible right now. I was the first to report, as you know, several months ago, if Bill Belichick doesn't get to the playoffs, I expect him to be fired. Mm-hmm. There's such bad stuff going on in New England right now, optics-wise. Even if this wasn't New England, he'd have to win it. But the fact that it's New England puts everything on the table. This is a monster game. And again, I'll never say it again this year, the rest of the year. Even if they run the table and go to the Super Bowl, this is the biggest game of Josh's season right here. This is these next 6 games, and he's 1-0 in them so far. This is huge. Your thoughts?
Yes, one, because like you said, the New England Patriots are just not a good football team right now. I read something recently that, where other coaches and other GMs were basically talking about the talent that is not there in terms of New England. So just on a football game level, just a very simplistic level, the Raiders have to win. Then you take into account Bill Belichick. You take into account how many former Patriots are on the Raiders team, how you wanted to bring the Patriots way here. All that considered, you could not go and lose to the Patriots, right? You have to go win it because it's a winnable game and because of all the ties. So I think what you can't do if you're Josh McDaniels is regress, right? You can't, like you said, analysis by paralysis. You can't do that against Bill Belichick, right? Especially since he's, I don't want to say mentor, excuse me for lack of a better word, but you learned a lot from him, right? So when you have the better team, you have the better situation, you have former players from that organization, and you came from that organization, you have to win, or else that head scratching that's coming from the players, that's been coming from the players, is going to come back up again. So with where they are right now, this 5-6 game stretch, they have to get this W for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Then they go to Chicago, which is another chance to be 3-0 in those 6 critical games. Only one of those games I think that they're going to lose,
Lions,
or should lose, is the Lions.
Yeah.
In the D.
Yes.
And by the way, you never know. Zeke may be joining me in the D.
Hey, don't get me started. Don't get me started.
In the D. All right. I don't know yet, but I think we're working towards it, Zeke Master. All right. So I want to talk to you about Hunter Renfrow.
Yes.
You go give this guy huge extension. Huge. You pay him, man. Show me the money.
Yes.
And Jimmy's not getting him the ball. Now, no one who's part of our organization that I know of has any dislike for Jimmy. He's just not performing well. He's not playing up to his standards. And you know what's amazing? People want to say, well, the O-line sucks. Well, they haven't sucked. And when you go back and remember, I'm the one that broke the story about how Green Bay blitzed more in that game than they had every game up to it. And so all game, it's 7-on-5, 8-on-6, the entire game. That's not on the offensive line. Jimmy's got to get better. He has been a huge disappointment for the Raiders, in my opinion. Agree or disagree?
Agreed. He has to stretch the field. I mean, he has to stretch the field, and he has to see the field. Now, to his, is it all on the offensive line? Yes and no. I don't think it's all, don't get me wrong, on them. But a lot of it is because of Jimmy's injury, right? He's coming off that foot injury, and I think when the defense starts to blitz a lot, I think Jimmy gets happy feet, right? And then it gets to the point where not only does he not necessarily have the arm to get it, right? He's just flat out not seeing it. And Hunter's not the only one that falls underneath that, right? Hunter, Michael Mayer, we saw some plays from Monday where just say it again. Trey, right? They have all these great options. And for the most part, the first 3 or 4 games, it was like, hey, what's going on? After Monday night, it is clear that Jimmy is just flat out not seeing the field completely. There was one play, Trey Tucker's down the side. If Jimmy just launches it, I mean, Trey Tucker's probably going to go run underneath that ball. Michael Mayer wide open. You got DeAndre Carter. He might get a carry here or two or there. Jimmy's just not seeing it. So I think his problem more than anything is he doesn't have faith in the offensive line. It may or may not be their fault completely, but Jimmy's faith is not there yet. Maybe it'll come.
And I'm
over
going to
the
ask you a
season.
question though.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a lack of faith in the offensive line, or is it, man, I've gotten injured a lot. Everybody's talked to me about, the first time I talked to him, I said to him, this organization put all their eggs in your basket and you have a history of getting injured.
Yeah.
Do you appreciate that? Do you think it's a lack of faith in the offensive line, or do you think it's a genuine, I don't want to get hurt again?
I think it's 75%. Well, they kind of tie hand in hand, right? It's because if he's worried about getting hurt, it's because he's worried about the pressure that the offensive line is letting through. So I think it's 75% he doesn't have the faith in the offensive line, and that's why a lot of his passes it's Davante, it's Jacoby, then it's check down, right? That says, hey, you don't have the faith to read through your progressions. You don't even get to your third and fourth. Matter of fact, you're skipping the third and fourth progression. You're just checking and you're hitting down the check down. So I think it's mainly he's just, once that first defender breaks through, his eyes are going from the top to, hey, let me make sure I get out of harm's way. I think if the offensive line was better, I think Jimmy might be a little bit better as well. So I think he's just got happy feet because he doesn't fully trust. I mean, it's a new team for him, right? It is what it is.
I think he's got happy feet because he's prone to injury, but that's semantics either. All right, I want to get to another one. You and I have been standing on the sidelines at practices and watch him throw bombs. We've seen it with our own eyes.
Yes.
It's not something that we're taking other people's word for. The fact that they're not, no, you and I think would both agree. I don't want to speak for you. I think we both agree he's not the best passer we've ever seen. Aiden O'Connell can put the ball anywhere on the field. That's not Jimmy. We know he can do.
Hold on, Hondo, 1 second. Hondo. Hold on. You went out a little bit. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
I said whether or not they complete it, we both have seen him throw it. Yes. They've got to stretch the field, or because there's no respect for his arm. None.
None.
I watched plays against Green Bay where almost everybody's in the box. They don't trust you. It literally. It's like, okay, we're going to trust Hondo with a pack of Nutter Butters and a gallon of milk more than we trust Jimmy to go over the top.
Listen, it's both ways. Like, you can tell in the play calling that the coaching staff doesn't necessarily trust him, and then you can tell by what the defense is doing sometimes that they don't think he can stretch the field. I tweeted about this. I'm not sure what position he plays. Number 91 for the Green Bay Packers. I'm not sure if he's a lineman or a linebacker. Excuse me. But when they line him up on Davante, that's when I'm like, this has reached epic proportions. That tells you that the defensive coordinator says you're not going to get the ball to your best. We don't think you can do it. I've never seen nothing like it on Davante Adams. Wait, are we serious? That is one of the
Why
most.
did you just put me out there covering Trey Tucker?
Like, what? Like, what are we? My eyes must be fooling me. Like, there is no way a defensive coordinator can say we don't think you can do it any louder than what that. You got to think, if Green Bay's defense thinks that, and they've been struggling, pretty much all season as a defense. What do the other defensive coordinators around the league think? Right? Like, you don't even do that for a play. 91 on Davante Adams. Stop. So yes, between the play calling for the Raiders, you can tell by what they were, lining up, what they were dialing up. They simply, and I think with the offensive play calling, they're concerned more so about turnovers than whether or not Jimmy can get the ball down the field. Because you and I know, like you said, we've seen him throw the bombs in practice. So he can do it. He can do it. I don't think the coaching staff thinks that he can do it without turning the ball over. They're concerned about that big time.
To me, this is the glaring weakness on the Raiders, even if you don't connect. I'm not even saying you got to connect.
You got to try.
But we're saying there's a chance.
Yeah, you have to try.
Remember that movie Dumb and Dumber? Are you old enough to remember that? Yes. All right, so you're saying there's a chance. My son the other day, Zeke, we're sitting there at the table. He's 14 months old. He looks at me looking at his peanut butter sandwich and moves it. Wait a minute. My sandwich has no chance around Dad. my son Sandwich has a better chance around me than Jimmy going deep.
Down the field.
Give us a chance.
Yeah. So I wrote that article about a week or two ago. And it was just like, man, you have to try. And this is what I'll say. They, for the most part, they tried in the Chargers game and it didn't necessarily work out, but they at least tried to. And you saw how things kind of started to open up.
Right.
But you cannot just line up and say, hey, we're only going to do, one or two things. And think about it. The one thing they want to do the most, they haven't been doing well, and that's running the ball. So you got to open the things up. You got to at least make the defense think maybe these guys are going to try us deep. Because if not, you're going to end up with linemen on Davante Adams. So, yeah.
All right. Now, Zeke, I'm going to pull it out here. Let me find it because we gave our predictions. I said the Raiders are going to win 24-17. You said 24-14. So we're right in the same ballpark. But let me give you this. All of our staff and all of our guests have the Raiders winning this week in a huge game. It's the national narrative. Raiders, 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 Raiders. Huge game at Allegiant. And let's not pretend like New England's some of the best traveling fans.
Exactly.
So, to me, this is teed up. Josh McDaniels' biggest game. The only way they lose this is with a colossal failure.
Yes, it will be on them.
Raiders for the win.
Yes, they have to. They're going to get the W. Again, double-digit lead or win is what I have. So, first time they break 20 points this season. It sounds that's one of those stats that keeps getting thrown out, and people think it may or may not be a big deal. I think when you have an offensive coach at the helm, it is a big deal.
Wait. There are somebody in this world who is saying not getting to 20 points is a big deal.
I think it's somewhat not a big deal, but I think it's a deal. It's a deal. I think so.
It's a huge deal.
It's a deal. It's a deal. So what I always
how do you win? Yeah. Show me one good team. No, that's not true. Because good is okay. Show me one team, one NFL playoff caliber team that has a shot to win a title that doesn't score over 20. That's like saying you got a fistful of hundreds and you can't find a date at a casino.
Like what at a casino? Like that's a failure on your part. But yes, they got to figure it out. And I think this is the week they do it. But I think as long as they win, obviously that's all that they care about. But I will point out, you heard Davante say earlier this week, hey, we won or that they won, but you can look bad and still win. And I think their transition now was, hey, play the best brand of football that you can play offensively and defensively, and then go win. And at home against the Patriots, playing against Bill Belichick, what better time for them to do that?
Last question you got from me, but I think this one is important. I really respect Davante the man. I love Davante the player, but the man to me, he's not a dummy.
Yeah.
You saw an article I wrote a few weeks ago with an NFL GM really dissected his culture comments, and he said Davante would walk it back, and he did. But he talked about Davante is one of the smartest guys in the NFL. He knows every word he parses.
Yes.
He knows what he says. And I like that he's out there saying, okay, great. We won, but I'm not here for one win. I'm here for championships. And I know what championship teams have to do. I think there are times that his waxing loquacious irritates people.
Yeah.
In the organization, not the fans, not the media. But I also think he's good for the team too. I think it's good for somebody like him to say, hey, tap the brakes here, genius. Mm-hmm. Not talking to Josh, just, hey, tap the brakes here, guys. There's a lot more to this game than where we're at. I think he's good for this organization. How about you?
I think he does it the right way, right? It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And you got to think, what would happen if Davante Adams came and was, a prima donna, shouting, screaming, boo-hooing? It would do the exact opposite. So to your point, very intelligent dude. I think with him, he knows not only what he says, but just from being in the locker room, I think he knows how important his demeanor is, right? Even when he's not talking, you can kind of tell he moves a certain kind of way. He knows eyes are on him as the star. He knows ears are on him as the star of the team. So he's very careful with what he says and how he says it, but that's what they need, right? That's exactly what this team needs. He does it the right way. Jimmy might not go out and be able to say something along the lines of what Davante Adams said. But Davante has put that work in. He's earned it. He's got the voice that can handle that. So I like what he does too. I like what he does too. He has a lot of foresight, right? As excited as the team was coming off of that Monday night win, like you said, relax. In the words of Aaron Rodgers, right? Relax. We still have a lot to do. I think his history in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, how far they went in the playoffs when he was there, he's able to bring that here to a lot of guys that may not have had that same kind of success or that, those kinds of trips into the playoffs. So I think he's great for the team in more ways than one. And as he's, grown, as he's stayed in the NFL a little bit longer, you can hear him using his voice a little bit more. And that's great. That's a great thing to see.
All right. I'm going to read an email that came in this week.
Okay.
From me, Elijah C. Okay. Elijah says, Hondo, I am really learning to enjoy you and your podcasts. They are a lot of fun. I have a suggestion. Davante's always getting interviewed in a hoodie. I want to see you, Hondo, in a hoodie doing interviews. If you don't think this is a good idea, ask Zeke. I bet he'll be on my side. Hondo for the hoodie.
Hey, listen, that would set the locker room on fire. If Hondo just comes
Those guys
in.
would have so much fun. Because it would be a camo hoodie.
It would be A1. Listen, nobody would know what to do. So, yes, I completely co-sign on that suggestion. I would love to be in there. Let me record that day because I just want to see how the players would react to that. So, yes.
Can you imagine the crap those guys would? Can you imagine what Davante would say?
He'd probably just laugh. You would get a smile out of Davante Adams, which that would be a good thing to see, man. Yes, that I'm all for it. Please let me know which one you're going to do in terms of your.
No. I am not doing Hondo in a hoodie.
Hondo in a hoodie. That's the name of it. That's the name of the segment right there. It'll be a hit. It's a hit. Yes, sir. Great idea.
All right, buddy. Listen, I appreciate you've had such great content. Your work is exceptional. You're doing such a good. We are so proud to have you part of our team. You are doing a great job. We appreciate your respect. To stay on the line, I want to talk to you. That is the great Zeke Trezevant. Make sure you're checking him out every single day, pounding out the. He's there, covering that team every single day with us. Great guy, great husband, great dad, great friend, great addition to the team, Zeke Trezevant. From Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast, it's Hondo Carter and Zeke Trezevant saying good night, everybody. We'll see you.